Alright.
Window.
What kind of shape is this?
Well, it should be the shape of a cubic function.
Okay, what if they had desks with the calculator built into it? And you could just slide out a little pane in the desk and then you could type
Well,
into it.
unfortunately, that limits our technology use. What?
Why does my calculator never make the right picture?
What do you mean it never makes the right picture?
Cheap technology. You make that.
One time St. John messed up my calculator. He made it do these circles.
Yeah, I don't know that one.
He did. He did this thing where it was like, it would have this like line that went around.
Do you remember Sangjin in your class? Was he fun? Did he teach you how to teach?
Alright.
Did it go around in circles? You can reprogram these.
Wait, was he the Korean student you were talking about?
Man.
I really were you talking about?
Back to the school.
There. Is that pretty close?
Remember what he typed into it? Was it like
Not to yours?
Y equal? You probably wrote it way down.
Is that pretty close? That look about what most of you have?
Close.
No? Uh-oh.
My cross is 0, 0.
Yeah.
Looks like it crosses, well, it doesn't cross at 0, 0.
It does on my calculator.
It does not.
So should I write down this little
Yeah, their calculator's going to cross at 0, 0. No one's...
Wait a minute. Now, how did I know it didn't cross at 0, 0?
It's the Y.
It does not have an X term in every one of those terms. If it has an X everywhere, then it does cross at 0, 0 because 0 is a common factor. It does not have an X in this last term, and therefore we know it doesn't cross. Now, we've been building up to something here, and that is, how do I start finding these answers? And we can pretty much agree that at positive 1, it does look like this thing is crossing, and I made the comment that it actually does cross based on how I wrote it. Alice made the comment, well, if you add up the coefficients, the 2 plus 8 minus 9 minus 1, what's that answer?
0.
And when that happens, we guarantee ourselves that positive 1 is an answer to the problem. When your coefficients add to equal 0, positive 1 is an answer to the problem. You might want to write that down as a note. It's kind of a handy little piece of information.
So if you add up all of the coefficients and it equals 0, you automatically know that...
Positive 1 is a 0 of the function. I remember that from back when I was in high school, years ago. I won't tell how many that was.
I'd say
2.
It was a few.
43.
30. And they equal...
And they equal what?
0.
They add up and they equal 0. Then positive 1 is an answer to the problem. So 2 plus 8 minus 9 minus 1 is 0. That's a handy piece of information. Yes, ma'am?
Does that work with like any?
Any polynomial equal to 0. If you add them up and they equal 0, 1 is a divisor. What did I set up here, folks?
Synthetic division.
So that means if we synthetically divide by positive 1, which we know now is a 0, I produce a what powered equation down here? Remember, this one's third power, so I divide by 1, I get... So I get a quadratic. What's my goal?
To get a quadratic?
So do I reach my goal?
Yeah.
It did work, didn't it?
Yep.
And now this is equal to 2x squared plus 10x plus 1, and that's 0. We've discussed, or looked at, or found ways that we can solve this problem, correct? What techniques do we have to solve this quadratic?
Quadratic formula.
That would be a good one. I don't know that many of you want to factor 1 and factor 2 and come up with a sum that's 10. I think that's going to be a little challenging for a lot of you. But if we use the formula, so negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 100 minus 8 over 4. So x is equal to negative 10 plus or minus the square root of 92 over 4. Does 92 have a factor that's a perfect square?
I think so.
100.
Yes. Yes.
Or
Yes.
4 works. So you have negative 10 plus or minus 2 square roots. How many times does 4 go into 92? Yeah, which one is it? 18 or 23? 23. And so I can divide everything by 2. X is equal to negative 5 plus or minus the square root of 23 all over 2. How many answers does that count out to be?
2.
How many answers am I looking for?
3.
Where's my third one?
1.
Positive 1. There is my 3 answers. And some of you ask me, well, how do I find or how do I write my answers? If you write them in set notation like that, that works. That tells me I know these are my answers. Do you have any questions about this part of it?
Has it ever gone into like why we do each part of the equation?
You mean the quadratic formula?
Yeah, like is it ever broken down like what is done for what reason?
Yep. When I teach completing the square, I'll show you.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Alright. Earlier when you used synthetic division, why did you use
If I know that the remainder is supposed to be 0, then I know that that's where it touches the x-axis. So I know that's supposed to be a root or a 0 of the equation.
Oh.
See, all those things fit together. One of the things we discovered when we did the synthetic division was if we divided and the remainder is 0, we knew that was a factor. So now we're going to use that information to help us solve the equations.
Okay. And had it not had 1 as one of the 6, had it
If this doesn't become a 0, and we're going to look at that in a minute, then we have to make decisions based on that. Yeah, well, we get to make some anyway.
Nope.
Any other good questions about this?
Nah.